Storey DUP MLA for Northampton and Chairman of the Assembly Education Committee.
Mervyn, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing education in Northern Ireland at the moment?
I think that it's very hard to identify a single challenge because there's a variety of interrelated issues in relation to education. But clearly, the one which is most pressing at the moment is the issue around the funding and what is going to be the funding allocations and the money that's available to schools over the next 4 years. And given the fact that we have such a fragmented education system, clearly that is going to have implications for the amount of money that's allocated to education and ultimately how that money is spent and spread across a very, very wide number of schools.
So you've mentioned the fragmentation as a major problem. How would you address that in the most economically viable and educationally sensible way?
Well, I think that's what you have to always bear in mind is that the issue of how we spend our money will be determined upon the number of schools that we actually have. And I think that if we look at the number of schools, but not just so much the number of schools, number of sectors within those schools, then I think that that's a challenge for us. And obviously the comments of the First Minister some time ago has initiated a debate around delivering a single education system for Northern Ireland. And that, I think, is something which has commenced in relation to the debate. And I think that what we need to see now is an open, honest exchange without people coming to the table around this issue with a particular silo mentality. And that's extremely difficult and has been very problematic in the past with relation to education.
How big a contribution do you think shared and integrated education could make to a more cohesive and peaceful society?
I think that it's a vital component of how Northern Ireland continues the journey that it has commenced. I think that those in the integrated sector were having this engagement whenever we were at the very height of the troubles in Northern Ireland. And there were those who had a genuine attempt at trying to bring together our community. We have, I trust, passed that phase and that period of our history where we had such a division in our society, and that division was really seen on a very, almost a daily basis in the most horrific way. And if we have passed that in that we have created institutions that has helped to embed that process, then I think that we then start as a society to look at other elements that will continue to build upon that progress. And you cannot exclude education from that process. It's an integral part of it, and I think that that's why we have to look at methods and ways whereby we can bring about that change to the current system that we have.
Talking about methods and ways, what about the funding of schools that are perceived as promoting a single faith? Should public funding only be available if schools are demonstrably open and welcoming to all pupils?
Well, I think that again this has been an issue which was addressed in relation to the comments made by the First Minister, and I think that he made the comment in regards to faith schools that if there are those who want to have faith schools, then they should make that contribution to having that school in existence. I think that we are a long way off, unfortunately, having people engaged fully as to how we would move to that new type of system. And so I think that we have to look at the finance, we have to look at the way in which the sectors will be funded in the future. And clearly, you cannot pick out one over another. We've had, unfortunately, a debate in Northern Ireland for too long, which some would deem to be the wrong debate around the issue of transfer. And you have seen all sorts of arguments made by those who are in favour of the abolition of transfer, that you shouldn't be funding schools which support transfer. But you can't pick and choose, and you can't say, well, we'll do that in one argument, but on the issue of a shared and single education system, we'll still allow you or anybody to have preference and sit in isolation and stay outside of the system, and we still fund that. So I think all I've ever said in all of these issues has been that I want people to come to the table. Yes, with the core values which are essential and important to them, and in no way demeaning them or in no way belittling them, but realise that we cannot continue to be where we have been. And the old saying is, if you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. And I think that's where we're at the moment.
The Assembly elections are approaching, so how important is it to your party, to the DUP, that a majority of people here say they'd like to see more integrated schools?
I think that what will be important for us in this election is an endorsement of our vision for a single education system. And I think that it's important that we've had surveys in the past that clearly have indicated that there are people who are in favour of having more of what has gone before. Now, obviously, there are concerns. There are fears within particular communities. The maintained sector has particular concerns. There are those within the control sector who have particular concerns. However, I think that what we need to do is we need to manage those concerns and ensure that people are confident as we take these steps forward. One of the mistakes that we've made in the past has been that we are too easy or too quick to bring out grandiose ideas, and then what happens is somebody starts to say, yes, but what about, and we then concentrate on those not minor issues but supplementary issues, and they then become the focus of attention rather than the substantive. The substantive for us is moving towards a single education system, and I think that we have to work around how we deal with particular concerns that people have, and those concerns come from a variety of sources.
You've talked about the concerns coming from sectors, and yet survey after survey shows the electorate is actually quite strongly in favour of more integration and sharing.
Yes, and I think that the difficulty that creates for us is that while people have that aspiration, they still will make a choice for particular schools. Now, that is probably because those schools are in existence and they are accessible to them. If they had another choice, they would make, and I have seen that in my own constituency, they have made other choices. And to the extent where one school, an integrated school, is very heavily oversubscribed. Now, I think that as the map of schools change, and this is where the concern is in relation to the budget, that if the budget forces a demographic and a geographical shift in the number of schools, we will have a shrinking number of schools, but still within their own particular sectors. That would, I think, be for us the worst outcome. And that's why the commencement of the debate that was initiated by the First Minister, the continuation of that debate during this election campaign, and beyond whenever we have a new executive, is a vital key component to ensuring that we move forward on this particular matter.
Mervyn, what's your strongest memory of your own school days?
Well, I think in terms of my own school days, I think one of the key elements, particularly in post-primary, was the influence that particular teachers had on what I decided either to do or what I was involved in at school. And I think that I've seen that compounded over the period of time that I've been chair of the Education Committee, and that is this issue of leadership and the influence that teachers can have on young people. And I think there are particular teachers who bring particular skills of engagement with their young people that ignite an interest, that ignite an enthusiasm, and I think we need to see more of that developed and more of that in our education system. And I think ultimately, for me, that was something which was invaluable, and I look back with fond memories to some teachers who made a lasting impression upon me as a young person and were an invaluable help to trying to guide me through what, for a young boy in a secondary school, brought all its challenges, but I'm so thankful that they were there and that they were to be a positive help.
Happy memories overall then?
Yes, happy memories. You always say your school days are your best days. Now, a lot of children don't believe that that's the case, but yes, happy memories, and I'm delighted now that I'm able to go back and make a small contribution to the school that I was a former pupil of, and as a member of the Board of Governors, although sometimes I've said to them, I feel like a criminal returning to the scene of the crime. However, I don't think there was anything that was done during that time that was liable for prosecution. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.